Thank you. You're terrific. Thank you. Before I go any further, and while you're so very nice with all that lovely applause, won't you please put a lot more love right back in your hands and help me to say thank you to a wonderful orchestra. I really mean it sincerely. Mr. Mickey McClain and all the gentlemen in the orchestra. Thanks, Mick. Thank you, fellas. Terrific. Beautiful. Life is a one-way street.
No, what
and
were you
I'm
saying
moving
one
down
time?
it much too fast.
Yeah.
I can't turn around. I might
Right.
and crash into my past.
We'd be sitting at the table, and my grandmother would be going back and forth between the dining room and the kitchen. So, sometime before dinner, he would have hidden an immense ball of thread in his mouth. I mean, immense, in a hollow tooth or something. But the thing was, it must have been this big, you know. It was yards and yards and yards long. And he would wind it up and stick it in his mouth. And we didn't know it, of course. And then he would wait for my grandmother to bring something in, some green beans or something, and then leave. And he'd start pulling this thing out. But he would pull it just got so long, there'd be this immense heap on the table, and he'd just keep pulling it out.
Why?
Well, the longer, and then it was actually to get my grandmother's goat, because she would come back and she said, "Now, George, leave those children alone, you know, so they can have supper." Okay, Mary. You know. It was, I don't know, we would love it, because it was getting her angry, which is always good for a laugh. You know. She was very straight-laced. She tried to keep some kind of semblance of normalcy in the house, and although he was a notorious alcoholic, good Lord.
Stuff really just goes generation after generation, you know.
His father was the same way.
His father's. Wasn't there something written by his father or by him? No, it was written by him.
Written by my grandfather. Yeah,
yeah, talking about
Pa's reminiscence.
Right, 1880s, coming over and moving from one house to another in the wagon in the 1880s.
Yeah.
And so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who was the one who they thought was killed in World War II?
That was Berklee.
So what was that story again?
That was the Sharks.
They heard about that. Okay, so they thought because
they must have got some kind of a cable for the Navy. Missing and presumed dead. That's what I think. And I happened to be there. So anyway,
yes.
They had a little porch in the front of the house. The house resembled a Catskill bungalow. It was small. My grandfather had built it himself, and I thought it was a masterpiece of architectural engineering. Of course, you know, so proud. He also built a small barn of stone. Very nice though, with the gambrel roof. So one night I was about ready to go to bed. It was close to 9, and a young man in a sailor suit came through the front door. And my grandparents had thought he had been killed. So he said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah, you're my Uncle Perch." And then my grandmother came to the room, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. You know?
He was in his uniform?
Yeah.
And why didn't he telegram headers?
I think he wanted to pull one of those Tom Sawyer shows.
The drama, right?
Funeral.
How often do you get a chance to do that?
I think that's why he did it.
Wow. So they all just, that was a happy day, the moment then.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he just went.
Did everybody run out and come
ran
jumping out around?
Yeah, it was a primitive time. Everybody's emotions very close to the surface. They had little flags in the window with stars, you know, boys in the service. They were tough. These guys were all tough. 5 boys. My father was the oldest.
Richard was one of his brothers?
He could really fight. He could really duke. It was nothing for the biggest one, Theron. who ended up teaching physical education for a whole career in Miami. He's a very funny guy, great guy. He defeated 2 men in a stand-up bare-knuckle fight, a knockdown fight, simultaneously.
These guys were big, right?
Big. Tough. They were known locally as the Fighting McClains.
5 of them, huh? That's great.
5 bad boys, man. Yeah.
And they didn't eat all the processed crud food we eat today as a
No.
farm fresh.
No, they would slaughter their own hog and a beef cow and all kinds of vegetables in the garden. Yeah. And my grandmother, as I said, she kept some kind of a semblance of respectability. She was a devout Christian. I never heard any profanity come out of her.
Wow.
Very particular about that. And she used to occasionally play the parlor piano. And I thought she was a master, she could actually play.
Is that where you got interested in piano?
Yeah, that's where I got interested in the piano. She would sing these beautiful old hymns, Old Rugged Cross, and so on, Just a Friend We Have in Jesus, or What a Friend We Have in Jesus. And they're great, they're really great hymns. And she would sing those and play the piano. And then my Aunt Catherine, who's still alive, she's about 90, she's out in Wisconsin, she was about 20 at the time, she would do humorous impressions of the affectations of classical musicians, with their hair flying, arms up in the air. She would do impressions of these conceited, vain classical pianists, and I thought it was great.
This is during World War II, then.
Yeah, and that's where I became interested in jazz piano. I think because I associated classical playing with all that affectation, and in the years to come, I did encounter classical players who were like that. She was very, very funny. She became my favorite aunt. Aunt Catherine, wonderful lady. One day my grandmother called me to the house. She was so disturbed. I went into the house rather, and I told her that I had found Tom, the cat. Somebody had shot the thing for sport. I think for sport, because target practice. It was on a stone fence, and they were so fond of that cat. And someone for no good reason had shot the poor cat.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Were you there when they electrified the place?
I was.
What was that about? How did that work?
Well, the farm went overnight from this magical place where you could sense the presence of the animals and the plants and so on. It was very medieval. And it went overnight to a place where all the buildings were lit up, electrified. And it was just, all the magic went out of it somehow.
Poles and wires and...
Yeah. My grandmother, who was not a romantic soul, the one who played the hymns, this was a sentiment that you would hardly hear expressed by her, but one night she turned on the yard light, as she called it. That big creosoted pole had a big yard light on it. And that went on, barn went on, and the chicken house went on, and the house went on. Everything's lit up like the A&P, And she looked at me and she said, and I was still pretty small, I was about 8. And she said, I'll never forget what she said. She said, Mickey, we've lost something. And I thought, this is something peculiarly interesting for her to say, because it's just not like I would think of her. She was so eminently practical.
Right, and this is supposed to be a labor-saving thing for her, too,
exactly. Right? Given the labor-saving aspect alone, she said, we lost something. And she told me she preferred the wood stove. And at that time she now had her new washer and dryer and refrigerator and freezer.
Electric stove.
And electric stove. All this was purchased by a new son-in-law who married Augusta. She was the religious aunt. Yeah.
Wow.
But my grandmother preferred the old way.
So what was this? One day some young lady came to visit?
Oh yeah, I heard hoofbeats coming.
This is in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was probably about 10, 12, and I heard these loud hoofbeats. I looked up and there was a big Palomino horse, giant horse, with a beautiful girl sitting on top, galloping at a full gallop, galloping into the yard. She had a tan buckskin jacket on,
Wow.
with the fringe flapping.
My
And
gosh.
her hair, I remember the picture. Her hair was waving and flapping, just the
Bouncing
same,
with the horse.
bouncing just the way the fringe was on the bus.
Oh my goodness. How old was she?
I don't know, she's probably 20, 21.
This must have been quite an image.
What an image. She was gorgeous. Very haughty. Like an old southern girl. Yeah. Didn't say anything, didn't acknowledge my existence or anything. Just thundered into the yard. And a moment later, Bertrand went running out of the house and mounted the horse, his horse. Now, I can't remember if he did one of those John Wayne mounts in the back where you spring on the horse. I don't know if it was like that.
Threw himself on.
I don't know.
Well, that was...
But it wasn't her horse he jumped on. It was his own. And off they went.
Wow.
Full steam ahead.
Right. Well, that is...
I thought, boy, that's romantic.
God.
Wow, that's great.
That's great, right?
Galloping off into the sunset. Whoa,